Porcupine. Somewhere in a forest at night, a female North American porcupine starts releasing pheromones as she moves through her territory. And that signal drifts through the darkness like a frequency only certain receivers can pick up. The male picks it up and starts moving, covering an area up to 5 times larger than his normal range, running into rival males along the way, and when 2 of them end up near the same female, there's no civil conversation about it. The loser walks away with the other guys, quills in his face, and 0 guarantees it was worth the trip. Here's the detail that reframes everything. The female is fertile for 8 to 12 hours per year. Not per week, not per cycle, per year. One window that opens and closes while you were sleeping. Every week of travel, every fight, every quill to the face, all of it exists to land inside those 12 hours. Show up a day late, and he waits another 350 days to run it all again. So after weeks of this, the male finally finds her with the window still open, and you'd expect some kind of impressive gesture at this point, right? He stands up on his back legs and soaks her in urine, head to toe, with full commitment. Like he rehearsed this and decided it was the move. And in his world, it genuinely is. The pheromones carry real biological information about his health, and she's reading that signal while deciding if he clears the bar. If the answer is no, she screams and leaves. If the signal checks out, she lifts her tail, and the clock on those 12 hours starts. Okay, so a guy who waited 350 days and decided the winning move was a full urine shower? If that already has you locked in, hit subscribe right now, because we've still got 7 animals left, and I promise you, it gets considerably more unhinged from everything you just heard. Marine flatworm. In the shallow, warm water above tropical reefs, there's a flat, colorful creature that glides across the seafloor like a piece of living silk, vivid stripes, rippled edges, something that looks more like a painting than an animal. The marine flatworm is genuinely beautiful, and that beauty is pulling a lot of weight in terms of making you forget what actually happens when 2 of them encounter each other. It's a hermaphrodite, carrying both types of reproductive organs at the same time, and in theory that should make reproduction a simple, cooperative process. But evolution looked at that setup and decided it would be far more interesting as a fight. When 2 flatworms meet to reproduce, each one extends a pair of sharp, dagger-shaped organs and tries to pierce the other while dodging the attack coming back. A duel documented and filmed by scientists that can last anywhere from a few minutes to over an hour of continuous attack and evasion. You know how in any situation where someone has to make the first uncomfortable move, send the awkward text, make the phone call, admit they were wrong first. Both people will do absolutely anything to not be the one who blinks. The flatworm took that exact energy and turned it into a full contact sport, because whoever gets pierced in this duel is the one who ends up carrying the eggs, investing weeks of energy into a clutch of offspring while the winner of the fight moves on. Both individuals are fighting as hard as they physically can to be the one who delivers rather than receives. And the duel only ends when one of them finally runs out of room to dodge, which means nature essentially built a system where pregnancy is the penalty for losing a sword fight, and somehow that has been working perfectly for millions of years. There's a small marsupial that lives in southern forests. Looks like a well-groomed mouse with a pointed snout and quick, bright eyes. And for 10 months of the year, it lives a completely unremarkable life, eating insects, climbing trees, not drawing attention from anyone. Then mating season arrives, and the male transitions into a mode that genuinely has no name in any human language. His testes dissolve, not a metaphor. His body literally reabsorbs the tissue and redirects all available energy toward one final mission with no return built into the plan. What happens next might be the most unhinged biological event in the entire mammal kingdom. You know that friend who ignored the whole semester, showed up the night before finals, convinced they could fix everything in one session, ran on caffeine and pure delusion for 18 hours straight, completely wrecked themselves, and somehow still considered doing it again? Take that energy, stretch it across 3 weeks, and remove the option of surviving at the end. That's the Antechinus at full throttle. Each session with a female can run up to 14 hours. He doesn't sleep, barely eats, and the whole time his cortisol and testosterone are spiking to levels that send his immune system into complete collapse, fur falling out, internal bleeding, developing parasitic infections moving in because there's nothing left to stop them. And even then the drive doesn't switch off, because evolution favored the males who covered the most ground before the end, not the ones who tried to pace themselves. No male Antechinus survives mating season. The entire adult male generation disappears every year, and 2 years later, a new generation runs the exact same sequence with no memory of what's coming. Argentine duck. We're talking about ducks for a second, because ducks are chill, they float around the pond, eat whatever breadcrumbs someone tosses at them, and project absolutely zero threat to anyone's understanding of the natural world. This section is going to permanently change that for you. The Argentine Lake Duck looks completely ordinary from the outside, nothing in the feathers or the bill that signals anything out of the ordinary. But when zoologists first measured the reproductive anatomy of this species and published their findings in the ornithology journal, the Orc, back in 2001, the results got serious attention well outside that specific field. The male's organ measures around 8 inches long, roughly the same as the bird's entire body length, and it's shaped like a corkscrew. Not as a loose description, literally spiral, the exact same geometry as the bottle opener sitting in your kitchen drawer right now. But this didn't develop in a vacuum, because it's the direct output of an evolutionary arms race between males and females running across thousands of generations without a definitive winner. The female's anatomy spirals in the opposite direction, and when she doesn't want to be fertilized by a particular male, that opposing structure physically blocks full engagement and his contribution ends up somewhere it can be naturally cleared out. Every anatomical push from the male generated a counteradaptation in the female, and every counteradaptation puts selective pressure right back on the males, and that entire history is written permanently into both of their bodies. All of this is quietly playing out in a duck that looks completely unbothered, sitting on a lake. Anglerfish, 500 meters below the surface, no sunlight, pressure that would kill a person instantly, and every living thing down here had to engineer a creative solution just to keep existing. The female deep-sea anglerfish is one of the most adapted predators alive. Round body, teeth like broken glass, and a bioluminescent lure on her forehead that glows in total darkness to pull in prey that has no idea what's waiting below that light. For decades, scientists kept finding only female specimens, and several of those females had small structures attached to their bodies that everyone assumed were parasites, until someone realized those structures were the males. The male doesn't have a digestive system capable of keeping him alive independently down here, and when he finds a female in that total darkness, he bites into her body and doesn't let go. The tissues merge, the circulatory systems connect, and his head and organs gradually dissolve into her, leaving behind a structure that produces genetic material permanently integrated, fed by her blood supply, available whenever she needs it. You've definitely seen that couple that merged absolutely everything: the streaming accounts, the social calendar, the individual personality, and having a conversation with either of them alone is impossible because you can't find where one ends and the other begins. The anglerfish is the biological version of that, except it's surgical, permanent, and very clear which of the two got the worst end of the deal. Some females have been found with 8 males fused to their bodies at the same time. She carries all of them forever. Spotted hyena, open savanna, dry heat, wide flat landscape. Spotted hyena clans run dozens of individuals, and these groups break almost every assumption you'd bring to a large mammal social structure. The lowest ranking female still outranks every adult male. Females are physically larger, more aggressive, and make every significant decision without consulting anyone below them. What makes this species stand out is that female spotted hyenas have a pseudo-penis, an elongated clitoris externally nearly identical to the male organ, same location, same shape, and she urinates, mates, and gives birth through it. That means one thing clearly, and without exception: mating is physically impossible without the female's active cooperation. She has to voluntarily retract the pseudo-penis for anything to happen, and no amount of pressure from the male changes that. Males spend weeks in submission behaviors, head low, avoiding eye contact, just waiting because the aggressive ones literally cannot reproduce. And evolution has been filtering that personality out for a very long time. There's a real cost. The birth canal is long and narrow. First-time mothers face a genuine risk of cubs suffocating during delivery, and complicated births can be fatal for the mother as well. Even so, this system has run for millions of years because the dominance it enforces gave the clan a strategic advantage that outweighed every attached risk. And the spotted hyena is still here making that case. The Adactylidium Mite. The finish line belongs to a creature you will never see with the naked eye, and it makes every other animal on this list look like it was running a completely standard program. It's a mite that feeds on thrips' eggs, tiny insects that attack plant tissue. The adult female finds one single egg, consumes it, and that's the only energy she gets for her entire adult life. Just enough to grow a full litter of offspring inside her body while she's still breathing. Here's what's happening inside her right now. One male and 5 to 8 females developing simultaneously. Same cycle, same space. The male is born first, still inside his mother, and immediately begins reproducing with each of his sisters before any of them have seen the outside world. When he finishes with the last one, he's done. He emerges, doesn't search for food, doesn't look for other females, because there is genuinely nothing left on his agenda, and within hours, he dies. His entire adult existence ran shorter than a TV episode. The daughters pregnant before they were technically born worked their way out through the inside of their mother, and she dies in the process. Her whole adult life lasted about 4 days. Every daughter that emerges is already carrying the next generation, ready to run the exact same sequence with no gap, no pause, nothing between one cycle and the next. The whole thing completes in under a week, and it has been running that way for longer than anyone can put a number on. Drop a comment telling us which one of these actually got to you, and be honest, because the answer says a lot. And if you have a friend who still thinks they've got nature figured out, send them this video. That's not cruelty. That's a public service. Out in the open ocean, far from any coast or reef, there's a type of octopus most people have never heard of. The female is genuinely impressive. She builds a shell thin as tissue paper to carry her eggs and drifts through the water with the energy of someone who does not need to explain herself to you or anyone else. The male, on the other hand, is about 30 times smaller than she is, and we're not talking a slight size difference here. We're talking Chihuahua trying to impress a grizzly bear territory. And evolution didn't give him a single good option for approaching her directly. What evolution gave him instead was the Hectocotylus, which is one of his tentacles completely modified to carry his genetic material and, when the moment is right, make the delivery without him ever having to show up in person. You know that guy who never comes to anything, never goes anywhere, never makes an actual appearance anywhere, but somehow still manages to have kids from a distance and acts like that was the smoothest possible move? That's the Argonaut. When the time comes, he detaches his own arm from his body. The tentacle swims over to the female on its own, enters her mantle cavity, drops off the package. And the male is already long gone. The arm went, he didn't. The female can collect arms from several different males and use them gradually over time, like she's maintaining a roster on standby. When scientists first found these structures inside the females, they genuinely thought they were looking at external parasites. It took a while before anyone realized they were just males who had figured out how to handle their entire genetic contribution. Through the male, and then disappear without a trace.